I'm Theron Ramacharaka. Somebody proposed to me that the alleged, this is that other person's idea here, alleged action of psychic vampires is a myth. They don't really steal or take any energy from their alleged victims. Furthermore, there's no protection against psychic vampires. There is none, because they're not doing anything to us, to their victims. They don't really have victims because they're not taking anything from anybody in this manner that's proposed or been taken to be the case, when we talk about prana theft or psychic vampirism, parasitism. There's nothing happening there. There's no transfer of energy from one person to another like that. It doesn't happen. This was what was proposed to me. Doesn't happen. So, the idea that a psychic vampire somehow is a prana theft is a myth. No psychic energy, or whatever, however you want to look at it here, is transferred from one person to another at all, which is why it can't be stolen. I mean, you can't even give it away. You can't take it, you can't give it, there's no transfer. And this proposal went on to explain what really happens. Instead, that makes us think, this is part of the proposition here that I was given from somebody else. What really happens instead, you see, is that the so-called psychic vampire comes into our proximity and then does something, I don't know what, some kind of behavior, whatever it is about them, all right, that's initiating what really happens, or causes what really happens, causes the following to happen. What we take to be a drainage is actually our own, something that we do to ourselves. And what we're doing to ourselves is we're blocking off the flow of life force, of energy from our high down, coming down from our higher self. We're blocking it off. Therefore, what we're really experiencing isn't any kind of a drainage or energy transfer over to the psychic vampire. What we're really experiencing is we're not getting our normal flow from our higher self. We're not getting our, higher self energy flow fix at the moment. And then we mistakenly assume that there was some kind of a drainage that took place. Somehow our energy leaked out and this other person leached it off us. We're just not getting our fix from our higher self, that's all. That's what was proposed. That's what really happens. Well, then we have to kind of if we buy into that, then we have to change some other ideas. First of all, we have to then just go on into, but we have to buy something else now. We have to buy into some other idea. The idea that we are completely separate entities. All of us. We're just totally separate from one another. Just totally separate at every level. From higher self to lower self, whatever, however you want to look at it. From, the entire spectrum of levels of vibration of conscious substance, conscious substance in motion at every level, comprising a human being, constituting a human being is a separate thing from all others. Across the board, the whole thing. Everything, every level of our energy, all right, is separate. In fact, it can't even be tied into the whole at any level, because where it would tie into the whole would be a bridge for this energy transfer to take place. But the proposal was it does not take place. It cannot happen. So, but there was mention of a higher self. So we have to change our idea about that whole thing too. At the core of the higher self would be the true ego, the true self, right? The I am, which is the same stuff as all other I am-ness. Well, we have to change our idea of that too, because even at that level, it's separate. Each unit of I am is separate from all other units of I am. There's no connection available anywhere, because energy transfer does not happen. That was the proposal. So we have to assume some other stuff here too, and we're totally separate. No connections. No bridges available. So, what else do we have to kind of presuppose here? Well, we would have to then assume that the phenomena we witness and intersubjectively confirm with respect to Kirlian photography, that form of photography in which our electromagnetic field, our physical body's electromagnetic field, is seen in photographs of the Kirlian nature. In such photography, it is seen that electromagnetic field that bit of vital energy that is alive, okay? There's the life in it. There are phenomena witnessed. It moves. It moves. You can see it in the photograph. This field surrounding the finger, okay? And if you put up another finger, you see it surrounding that one too. And when the two fingers get near each other, you see that energy bridging the gap. Reaching out and bridging the gap on its own. And if this is somebody else's finger, the same thing can happen. And given mental states, intentions, motives, and will force put into it, the phenomena can vary in accordance. Well, we have to assume now, see, if we're following along with this proposal made to me, that what we see in Kirlian photography does not happen. There must be some other explanation. Maybe it's doctored up photos. Or maybe it's a trick of the lens. Might as well have a peanut M&M. Have a peanut M&M. Thank you for playing. Curling photography is telling us a lot. We're going to have to, go with that now. And thought forms. Thought forms. Have you heard of these guys? Thought forms. Primary thought. If you haven't, well, look at my videos on thought forms. Laid out in quite detail. Quite the detail here in my channel. Primary thought forms are our mental images. Secondary thought forms are a different thing. They are entities, astral and mental plane entities, formed or having as their bodies, their forms, the elemental essence of the planes to which they belong, astral and mental planes. And they are vitalized, given life by our own will force. And then they take on a life of their own. They are entities. They are called elementals. They are a specific kind of elemental. There are many kinds of elementals. Thought forms are artificial elementals. They are a kind of artificial elemental insofar as they are human created. But they are entities and they do have a life of their own, and they leave the proximity under the right conditions. They leave the proximity of their creator and they go about doing their thing in accordance with the intentions and motives and content of their creators. They join up with other thought forms of similar vibration, of similar ilk. They enter and are absorbed into the mental atmospheres of other people who are creating similar thought forms, or thought forms, mental vibrations, moods, mental states, and so forth that are conducive to attracting others, okay? Other thought forms that are floating around. They can be aimed at specific people, and depending on the intentions of their creators, they will act accordingly. They will help to carry through those intentions on their own. I mean, that's what they're doing. They influence people. They're around us all the time, and those who can see them, occultists who can see them doing their thing, reaching out like with tentacles, wrapping around other people, depending on their nature, depending on their form, and the intentions of their creators, depending on the conditions I've already named. Some act like tentacles wrapping around other people, drawing them into things. They act in all manner of ways. They can be seen doing this activity. But that must not be right. That must not be right, because we're getting into, we're getting awful close to talking about some kind of energy transfer taking place. So, thought forms and what they do, how they work, can't be right. We got to rethink that whole thing now too. The whole idea of personal magnetism has to go out the window. my goodness, we might as well change our view of, hey, why don't we just go ahead and change our whole view of, conscious substance in motion as a primary, essential description of manifested cosmos. Why don't we just change the whole bit here to fit that that proposal made to me about psychic vampires? I guess we're going to have to, if we're going to buy into that, that psychic vampirism. What we normally mean by it is a myth. Well, it's not a myth. Oh, another person said to me, psychic vampires are, they're good people. Now, that's a relative notion, okay, but the statement was being made with respect to their activity. So we're back to accepting what they do now, okay? What we take them to be doing. We're done with that first myth about the action of psychic vampirism that we refer to being a myth. We're done with that part now, okay? That first proposal. This is another proposal. That psychic vampires now, okay, psychic vampires, in their actions as psychic vampires, are acting as good people. Well, okay, from a higher set of planes point of view, in which we can see that what we call evil is really something that is working toward the evolvement of everything. And from a lower planes point of view, it's not. It's working toward devolvement. But from a higher planes point of view, we can, get above the whole evil thing. We don't have to participate in it. And what we see is that anything that serves to work toward devolution of life is really something that serves to eventually redirect back toward evolvement. But that notwithstanding, okay? We understand that. So, be that as it may, the action of psychic vampires in their vampirism, they're being good people. This was what was proposed to me. They're not hurting anything, In fact, they're giving people. They're giving people. Don't put down psychic vampirism. It's a good thing. They're good people. In fact, they're human service oriented. Service to humanity. They're fun to be around. This was thrown in there. People are attracted to them. Well, there's a little twist of throwing in a little bit of truth with this other notion, to kind of make the whole notion swallowable, perhaps. Yeah, there's an attraction going on. Not a healthy one. We don't want to just jump from attraction to, well, then they're good people. They're attractive. Yeah, and along with this same thing, this same proposal, this second one we're talking about now, they take and they give. It's give and take. It's give and take. It's part of everyday life. It's give and take. Give and take, They're not taking more than they give. Well, okay, let's just go with that for a moment. What's it have to do with it? Maybe they give somebody $1 and then go steal somebody's prana around the corner. So they've given and they've taken. Maybe, hey, maybe they give somebody $100 just to cozy up and then start sucking life force out of the person somehow, right? They give and take is give and take. Yeah. Well, we can explain anything if we want to, right? Any way we like. It doesn't matter how we twist it up, how we turn it around, how many little bits of truth we fit into it. Psychic vampirism is abhorrent, and it is real, and it has a high cost to the person engaged in it. It is a form of black magic. There's low instant gain from it and high karmic cost. And enough practice with it will gain you entrance eventually into the lower of the subplanes of the astral plane, which are abhorrent to have anything to do with. They are the astral hells. If I run into any other myths about psychic vampirism, I'll say something about them and post it here. Be well.